When I first discovered the raw food diet, I thought the only thing I need to change is what I'm eating. But there was one thing no one in the raw food community seemed to be talking about. Every time I tried to eat fully raw, I ended up binging on junk food because eating this clean didn't just clear my body, it uncovered feelings I'd been suppressing for years. So today I want to go where almost no one in the raw food space goes. The emotional patterns that quietly shape our cravings, our habits, and the way we cope. And in the end, I'll share some healthy ways to deal with suppressed feelings so you can effortlessly form routines that support your well-being. And if you've ever wondered why eating fully raw sometimes feels impossible, even when your motivation is so strong, this might be the piece that changes everything. And I truly believe there is not a more important thing in our time right now than for us as a society to learn how to emotionally regulate ourselves. Because most of us, 99% probably, have not learned how to deal with our suppressed emotions as a kid. And as a kid is when we take on all these behavioral patterns, these identity loops, these beliefs on ourselves. We're like a sponge. We're absorbing everything from our environment. And I don't know about you, but when I was a child and I was crying, people would tell me, don't cry, it's all good. Or people would tell me, don't be angry, don't shout, don't express yourself, don't actually feel your feelings. And then as a kid, you assume, okay, that's just how I need to behave and that's how I need to act. So we start coming up with all these different coping mechanisms of how we can now numb our feelings to not feel them, and in order to not having to show them to people, because society has told us there are good feelings that you should feel, like being happy and joyful and excited and successful and like go, go, go all the time. And there are feelings you should not feel, like sometimes feeling a little lazy and just wanting to chill out, or feeling sad or feeling angry. Those are not feelings you should be feeling. You have to shove them down. But I'm here to tell you today that is not the truth. You are allowed to feel your sadness, and you are allowed to feel all these feelings that maybe society is labeling as bad. And maybe you've even been punished in the past for having felt those feelings. But every feeling is actually just a messenger for you to tell you, for example, there's something going on here that I don't like. I'm not feeling good in the situation. I need to change something here. I need to do something about it. I need to solve a problem here that I don't feel comfortable with. So our feelings are amazing because they actually lead the way for us and show us where we should go and where we shouldn't go, or where we can go if we want to feel differently. So for me, whenever I'm feeling something that is uncomfortable right now, I'm asking myself, why am I feeling that? Instead of thinking, how can I not feel that? And there are a few very common ways that we have learned in our society to not feel our feelings. One of the most common one nowadays is to just do all the time. We all have responsibilities in life. We all have things that need to get done. And I think it's awesome and it's wonderful to put our energy, our time, our passion into different things, into projects, into connecting with others. And at the same time, I also think it's so important to allow space to just be with ourselves, or to just be with whatever is going on within us. Another really common one is to distract. Whether that is through watching TV or Netflix, or whether that is to distract yourself with food. And for me personally, this has been the most common one of all the coping mechanisms I'm mentioning here right now, is the distraction with food. And I would still say to this point, it still is there a little bit. It's gotten so much better than it was in the beginning when I first got to raw food. But I think that's why it's so powerful to really learn to sit with our feelings, to feel them or to embody them, and to let them go from there. Because with that ability, you hold the key to no longer be a victim of outside stimulation. That's why for me it's been a huge game changer to actually become very curious about my inner world, all the things that are going on in there, because this gave me so much power back, and this gave me so much independency over all these things that I thought, I need them. But really, what I truly needed was to feel. Another really common way to not feel our feelings is to downplay them and to say, I shouldn't be feeling this right now, or this is not such a big deal. I don't have to feel sadness right now, or I don't have to be angry at that person. Like, it's not that big a deal. And I think that also stems a lot from society and from childhood and the way a lot of us have been brought up, where when we were feeling something, maybe someone on the outside, and again, we were absorbing all of that like a sponge, was telling us, it's not that big of a deal. Don't worry about it. It's all going to be fine. Instead of, okay, what is it that you're feeling? How does that feeling feel in your body? And I think for parents especially, it's so important to give kids space to feel what they are feeling, and to let them be angry, and to let them be sad, and really understand what is the actual reason the child is feeling this right now. And usually it's not what the child is saying, because as children we don't have that much awareness about our feelings and where they stem from. But when we as parents ask the children, hey, what is actually going on, they will tell us. And when we find out what it's actually, then we can find a solution for that. So I think there's a lot of potential here for the new generations to grow up in a way that is more constructive and more healthy for them. And I mean, what an amazing world this would be if we would all be able to emotionally regulate ourselves. And when we have something come up that feels uncomfortable, we know that's okay and we know how to deal with that. I truly think that could change so much around, because we can meet each other in a way more authentic and genuine way. And we can be way more loving and kind to each other, because we no longer project all these feelings on our outside environment. We know that it's not from the outside that these feelings are coming from. Of course, they can be triggered from the outside, but truly it arises from within. And that's also another coping mechanism that is very common nowadays, and that is to kind of project our feelings onto others or onto the outside and say, that's the reason why I'm feeling this way. That person is the reason why I'm feeling that. And sure, of course, certain things on the outside can happen that are really not nice and that really don't feel good or comfortable. But the reason we're feeling certain things is not really because something on the outside happens, but it's because we allow these things to have control over how we feel inside. That's why one person can get really, really triggered at a certain thing that's being said on TV or on YouTube. Like some people say on my videos, hey, this is a really helpful video. This was so awesome. And another person might say, how come you're eating bananas? That's so terrible. And might feel really, really angry about that and write all these hateful things. And that's always for me proof, okay, what happens on the outside, we choose how we react. And of course, it's important to let ourselves react at certain things when they don't feel good or when we don't like them. Again, to have these feelings as messengers, but to not let them control and predict how we feel on a consistent basis. I think that's where it's important to find ways to deal with those feelings and then do something about it. Leave the situation, change the situation, or accept the situation, say, okay, I'm here right now, might as well accept it. And then the last really common way that has become kind of a norm in our society to numb and not feel our feelings is to kind of control. And that's another one that I'm still sometimes really, really guilty of. And I used to be in the past. And it's just to time and plan a lot and to have a lot of structure. And I think structure is amazing, and it can give us a lot of grounding and it can be important for us to achieve amazing things. But there comes a point where it's too much, and where we also need to allow ourselves to be in the flow and be open and curious and Yeah, because too much control, again, it can disconnect us. And the problem with all these different coping mechanisms that I have just mentioned is that they will accumulate inside our body and they can cause different symptoms. So, for example, when all these emotions are stored and locked up in the body, then we are experiencing things like stress. It can have an impact on our sleep, on our energy levels, on our digestion. People might experience things like a headache or indigestion of food. We all know it when we're like really stressed and uptight. I'm not digesting that well in those times, and I think that's why it's so powerful, again, also in the aspect of raw food, to learn how we can deal with our feelings in a productive way, because it will also improve our digestion. And isn't that one of the biggest reasons why we're doing this whole thing, is to have amazing digestion, so that not so much energy and blood needs to go to the digestive system, so that we have that distributed in the whole body and we have that energy to create things in life, to have fun, to fill our life with a lot of beauty, and to really, really feel amazing. And lastly, I also want to share 4 ways that we can utilize to deal with our suppressed feelings in a very constructive and healthy way. And one of them is to express ourselves creatively. And this is why I think things like music, art, drawing, singing, dancing are so wonderful for our emotional health, because they allow us to really embody and step into what we're feeling and then express that in a very beautiful way, or sometimes also in a very ugly way, but to give that space and allow for there to be room. And then another one is also to embody our feelings through things like movement and exercise, or again, dance, but also running or rebounding are amazing to give our feelings space, to embody them. Also, strength training is so powerful, and to really move through them. That's why generally exercise has such an amazing and positive impact on our emotional and mental health. You don't even need to be spiritual or do any of the inner work. If you just exercise regularly, that can already do so much. But then also doing the inner work and really sitting with my feelings, instead of, like I mentioned at the beginning, like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling that, why am I feeling that? Like, be very open and curious to what is the actual message behind this feeling, of why I'm feeling that, and then accepting that that feeling is there right now, and moving forward in the future where I can do something about the things that are triggering that feeling, so that it doesn't continue to come up, or asking myself, how can I accept that instead of resisting and fighting it. And then the last one I also want to share is EFT tapping. That's also a great tool that has helped me to move through emotions. So it's basically a thing. My friend and I, we always make the joke like this, but no, you're not doing that. You're tapping on certain areas in the body that are like acupuncture points, and you're pressing them and tapping them, and that way the energy can flow again. It can help release those emotions. So that was a very heavy topic, but I think it was very important. I really wanted to share all of that with you because I think it's important knowledge. If you want to learn about the uncomfortable truth of eating a raw food diet, make sure to check out this video. And if you want to learn about the 33 benefits that I've experienced of eating raw food, because now we've talked a lot about some heavier things, make sure to check out this video.